Well, hello there, and welcome to the 1 year anniversary of jCraft. This is episode 58. I'm here at the rail cannon in the end, and we spent some time trying to get this thing working. You see, when we moved to 1.16, we checked all the farms, but we never thought to check to see if the rail cannon was working. And when we were doing the obsidian farm, we saw it floating there up in the sky, and we thought, hey, maybe we should check and see if that's working. And we noticed a few problems. So there were two basic problems that we discovered with this farm. One was that the arrow liner does not work properly anymore. And that should have theoretically been a fairly simple redstone problem. It ended up being quite a bit more complex than that. The other problem is that the TNT explosion, well, it doesn't end well. I'm actually in a copy of our vanilla world because we had the good sense to test it ahead of time and make sure. And yeah. So I actually ended up figuring out, for the most part, both of these problems, but I ran into a third problem, and it appears, as far as I can tell, that the physics behind this whole mechanism just don't seem to work anymore. And I'm really very upset about it. And I recorded about 15 minutes of footage of me trying to fix it, and if it had worked, I would have included it in this video, but I haven't been able to get it to work. I'm still going to keep trying, but it doesn't seem like it's a surmountable problem. So I'm going to release as a supplemental video the footage of me trying to fix the farm. I think it's pretty interesting, and so I'm going to release that tomorrow. So check that out if you want to. I just didn't want to include it in this video because it's just kind of a lot of time on something that's kind of depressing. So we're going to have to figure out something else to work on, unfortunately, because I wanted to do something really big this episode, and this was going to be it. I was going to try and fix the rail cannon, find some new things to shoot at them, and I thought that would be a lot of fun, but it doesn't look like that's going to work. Well, unfortunately, that means none of the projects in this episode are going to be quite as big as I had hoped for, because what could be as big as the rail cannon? There's just nothing in Minecraft that's quite as cool as that rail cannon is. I think I can come close, but I mean, the rail cannon, I really would have loved to have gotten that resurrected for the anniversary, but we got to move on. So the tunnel bore that we did in the last episode / diamond mining machine, I ran it for about 5 or 6 hours, and I got a little over a row of diamond ore. Definitely not the 300 per hour that Ilmango talked about, but I rewatched that, and he actually said up to, so that seems that's like the maximum rate if you're really lucky. So, but it's still a lot faster than beacon mining or anything like that. It's actually pretty quick, but it's going to take a while before we actually get a full shulker box of diamond blocks. I want to get a shulker box of diamond ore first, and then I'll start cracking all this, and this should crack to 2.2 on average, so it'll probably take about 3 shulker boxes of diamond ore before we actually get a shulker box of diamond blocks. So it's going to take a little while. Fortunately, I do have a few stacks of diamond blocks already, so that'll speed up the process a little bit. And then I got about the same amount of lapis ore. This may have slowed down the process a little bit, but I don't think it was by that much. You'll notice I didn't actually end up changing the texture at all because I decided I wasn't going to worry if I missed it. And you can see I actually blew up quite a bit of lapis normally and just picked up the actual lapis bits that were sitting on the floor. So I'm not going to worry about it too much, but I do actually want to get a shulker box of lapis ore as well, because I think that would be kind of cool to have as well. And you'll notice this texture, somebody in the comments, so thank you, Lev, his friend set this up and he sent it to me. This is not subtle, and it is impossible to miss. And the texture pack actually includes ancient debris as well, but it's a very cool texture pack, makes it just impossible to not see the diamond ore. So that's really cool. I'll put that down in the comments if anybody is interested. And also, he had a triple looting witch farm, and he gets about 3,600 redstone per hour from it, and he was wondering if the tunnel bore process was actually faster. And so I did a concerted effort of just focusing on redstone. I mean, I grabbed diamond if I saw it, but I was focusing on redstone, and I ended up getting this in 1 hour of mining redstone. And each of these cracks for on average 6, so I multiplied it out. It's about 2,500 per hour. So slower than his looting farm, and it's not AFKable. It's probably not. It's certainly a method to get a decent amount of redstone. I mean, that's 2,500 in an hour is a decent amount of redstone, but it's definitely not the best way. And the idea of using looting for our witch farm, that actually might be a good idea that I want to incorporate in the future. Lev also mentioned that a double TNT tunnel bore, like the one I used in the nether to clear out 22 blocks at a time, might actually be a more efficient way of doing this, or a similar TNT tunnel bore like that, because yeah, it doesn't clear out the lava underneath it, but it will run over the lava, and anywhere where there's not lava, it will expose any diamond that's down there, and I guess diamond is actually more common in the lower levels. So by using a tunnel bore like that, he said it could double the rates of diamond that you actually end up getting. So that might be something worth exploring in the near future. A few episodes ago, I spent a few hours and mined 32 shulker boxes of sand off camera. And between the 8 shulker boxes of glass that was required for the shulker farm and all the concrete that I've needed in the meanwhile, I'm almost completely out of sand again. So I think it's time to start looking at some sort of automated way to get some sand, at least in the short term. My original plan was to use this very cool sand query by XCOM, and the idea is that it drops the sand onto rails down here, and then any of the non-sand blocks actually just get brought up into a platform up here. But there is something deeply wrong with this world download here. So you can see it's loading chunks kind of as I go into them. And I'm actually in creative mode and I can fly through these blocks. I don't know what's going on with this world download. I was eventually able to get a Lightmatica template out of the world download, but whenever it starts a new row, the machine just stops and there's no way to restart it. Originally, I thought it might have something to do with the world download corruption, but that query was based on one of Palapala's old queries, and I ran that one. This one has a valid world download, and I ran it, and I got the same problem where the flying machine has just stopped running. I can't restart it, and so it appears that this query just doesn't seem to work anymore. So I could probably modify another query so that it can properly handle sand. You can see here that most queries will actually just ignore the sand. They will drop it onto slabs and just let it despawn, which doesn't work very well if you actually specifically want to collect the sand. But all XCOM did was he set up a rail system so the rails would actually get pushed instead. They'd fall on the rails and then a cart would come through and collect it all. And then we'd actually get the best of the both worlds. We'd get to collect all the materials as well as all the sand. But that would take some time to set up, so I probably will try and do that at some point in the future. But the other problem is that a full query requires a level of slime blocks that my current slime farm is not capable of outputting. So that's actually one thing that we have on the agenda, is setting up another slime farm. It's also worth adding that XCOM was very vocal in the comments that all his sand query proved was that there needs to be a renewable source of sand in the game. He said his query created 500,000 sand, which sounds like a lot, but for the jCraft server, that's just a drop in the bucket. And I probably used about 30,000 sand in the last few episodes, and I have mined 500,000 sand total, and my sand needs are starting to ramp up. So it doesn't seem like something like that will last very long. My long-term plan is that we can use carpet mod to have husks drop sand, and then you can have husks spawn in desert temples, and it makes desert temples kind of cool. We can create a farm around that. But just like with the shulkers, I want to exhaust all the possibilities within vanilla first, and then we can go in to using mods in order to supplement what vanilla can't do. But that's something for quite a bit in the future. I just wanted to discuss that though, because it's interesting that, yeah, even with the sand query, there is not enough sand in a world for late game servers. This area here doesn't look like much, but we're about 50,000 blocks out from spawn, and we have identified this area as somewhere where there are 32 slime chunks within 128 block radius of where I'm standing right now. This would be the center of our slime farm. 32 slime chunks in this area. And more than that, none of the slime chunks are clustered together. So when we have that many slime chunks, we need to be able to get the zombie pigmen out of there so that they don't eat up the mob cap. So we need to make sure there aren't too many slime chunks in a row or clustered together so that there's room that we can place turtle eggs and have the zombie pigmen actually be able to see those turtle eggs, run towards them so that we can kill them and free up the mob cap. On top of that, this chunk in the middle that I'm standing on and one chunk in every direction are not slime chunks. So that means the dead center is not slime chunks. I can actually move the AFK point way down, and that lets us hit an even wider area of slime chunks. So a lot of categories that this is hitting. This is a prime location, although it is 50,000 blocks out, for a really mega slime farm. So unfortunately, I lost a clip here. I normally watch my clips right away to make sure that they recorded properly, and I must have forgotten to do that because this one just didn't record at all. But the gist of which was I pointed out the obvious problem with the area that we've chosen for our slime farm is that it's all ocean, and we do need to set up a perimeter in order to utilize all those slime chunks properly. And in order to do that, we need clearances for the world eater, and those clearances cannot include water. So we've got to remove all that water. So fortunately, RaiseWorks has these here water removers that he came up with, and I had already built one of these in the world. They're surprisingly easy to put together. It doesn't look very complex at all, does it? They're very easy to set up, and I went to go operate it, and it stopped almost immediately. But sorry about the misclip there. Alright, so as is pretty much always the case when flying machines break, I made it wrong and I hit push limit. So I think we're good here. Is this the one I hit? Yeah, there we go. I think I can actually stand on these, if I can actually get up on the honey blocks, and just kind of ride it with. Oop. Oh, it's filling in more water than I might have liked. I might have to make this a wider flying. I cannot get on the honey blocks. Yeah, it's filling it back in by a couple of blocks, more than just one. But the flying machine is working. Oh, well, kind of. That's unfortunate. What happened here? Alright, well, we'll have to try it again anyways. And definitely build it a little bit wider next time. I'm starting to really regret all of the life choices that have led me up to this point right here. So when we were looking for an area with a lot of slime chunks, one of the criteria I said was that we should avoid ocean at all costs. And Astazora found this area right here, and it had so many, he was just completely enamored with the idea, and I was adamant against the idea. I had found another one that was, I think it was like 26, 28 slime chunks or something like that. That was actually closer, and it had ocean in just one corner. And Astazora really liked the idea of this one, and eventually, on my own, I decided that I thought it'd be interesting to do this one, especially with everything else not working out this episode. I wanted to do something a little more interesting than just setting up a perimeter. So I thought I'd do the clearing out the water and everything like that. And, whew, man, fighting back against water sources is a lot of work. We're doing all right. I had some over here that seems to, this was actually quite a bit lower. And stuff like this, I can probably just come over here and put sponges on this wall. And I think these ones will get a lot better. Yeah, just have to place them every once in a while. Those ones shouldn't be too bad. But all the rest of this down here, I think I'm going to have to use smaller flying machines to get rid of most of that, because I really don't want to do the whole filling everything with gravel and then sponging it out and all that kind of stuff. I want to try at least flying machines first before I get down to that, and then we'll see where that goes. But yeah, this has been a lot of work just getting to this point. And you can see I put walls up. I was testing it out, and I realized that really the only solution, basically, as soon as you start removing the machine or doing anything, the water sources, they just start coming back almost immediately. And so I decided the best thing to do was to put up a wall here. I happen to have gravel. I actually could have done it with stone or cobblestone or whatever, but I brought a bunch of gravel because I knew I'd have to fight with lava once I get down to the bottom at some point. So I brought a bunch of gravel, so I had it on hand. And it's renewable, so I'm not really hurting for it or anything like that. So the idea is that this will keep the water, once I can actually get this area cleared out, this will keep the water from coming back into it. And then once I've got that cleared out, I need to dig a trench. And it just needs to be 1 block wide that goes all the way down to bedrock. And then what I can do is I can just break this top block and let the water fall down into that trench. And then all of a sudden, this entire wall is blast proof and I don't have to worry about it at all. And we'll have a nice clean line all the way down that will, for our perimeter, it'll just have a nice clean line of water going all the way down it. So that should work pretty well. All right, so what I ended up doing was I actually ended up just setting up another flying machine, and this time it's got a manual engine, so I can fire it off 1 block at a time, and that allows me to go down and adjust the height of the flying machine so that it doesn't run into any obstacles. And also, like, when I get done with a hill, I can like drop the legs back down, and then I can cover as much ground as possible. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. I am leaving a little bit of water down at the bottom, but I can clear that up with sponges pretty easy. So this seems to be working pretty well. The idea is that I want to be able to run it. I want to have the legs at a point where I can run it for about a chunk or so, and then go down and check the feet and make sure that everything's working properly. And the next time around when I'm doing the other side, I'm probably just going to do this first. Setting up the first flying machine and then running another one just doesn't make any sense. This does seem like it's a pretty slow process, and it is. But it would have been a lot faster if I had done this in the first place. Like you can see, I actually had to set up some sugarcane walls in order to make sure that I'm not creating water sources. And if I hadn't had this wall set up, then I wouldn't have run into that problem. So, yeah, I mean, it's a learning experience. And, it is a little bit fun for as much hard work as it is, but we're almost done. Not much further to go. Shouldn't be too much harder to get the rest of the way. Aren't many hills or anything like that left, so I can run this about 4 or 5 times right now. I can fall down first. And everything seems to be working pretty well, so we can come over here. And actually the trick I found is that if I shift click on this block, or if I shift on this block, then when I knock this out, it actually sends me over onto the flying machine. So I think we can get about 5 or 6 blocks here. And we can see the flying machine has pushed forward, and then I just need to go down. And I think at this point I'm actually starting to drop down a hill, so I can adjust these feet, and I need to continue on these sugarcane walls, etc. But not much further to go. All right, there we go. Finally made it to the end here. We've still got this ravine over here, which is a pretty nasty one. And there's also a large cave over here that comes through, and I think the only way to deal with either of these, I don't think sponges are going to work with these. I think I'm just going to have to divide them up with sand and use sponges on the smaller areas, and I am not ready to deal with that just yet. I think it is time to take a break. I'll come back to this in the next episode. I'd like to work on that ring that I'm setting up in the end. So we're a little over halfway done here. It's starting to look pretty good. I think I might want to add some extra decoration at the 90-degree angles, like at each of these 4 corners right here. I think that would probably add a little bit of extra flair to it. We'll worry about that in the future. For right now, I've got something else I want to work at back on my base. So ignoring for right now that I haven't fully loaded up my storage system, I've got most of the items that I use most of the time into the storage system, but all the extra items I haven't loaded in yet, and it's starting to become quite a problem. But we're going to talk about the thing that I've been neglecting for even longer, and that is the floating island. And I have not worked on this for a while, And Astazora keeps bugging me about it and telling me I should do something about it. And he's not wrong. I should definitely do something about that. So for right now, I think I want to focus on this corner right here that is no longer valid because we put a building. So I need to stretch this out a little bit, make some adjustments here, and probably set up some terrain around it as well to make everything flow a little bit better. I think I can fix this up quite nice. One last thing I'd like to do, since it's jCraft's birthday / anniversary, how can we celebrate it without a cake? So I think I want to make a big old cake right here on top of this hill here at spawn. I started this channel a year ago today, and at the time I had no idea what to expect, and so far it has been a great experience. It did take me a little while to get off the ground, which I completely expected going in, but I've been growing so much faster than I ever would have thought lately, and I just hit 300 subscribers the other day, and I've already rocketed right past it. You guys are so great. In the comments, like, there's nothing but positivity. You hear horror stories of YouTube comments, and I have seen none of that. All I get is positivity all the time. I'm so lucky to have this community. It's such a great community, and I want to thank you all very, very much for that. I want to put more candles on this cake, maybe make this a tier cake as we go on. I just want to keep on going. I have no idea what the future holds at this point, but I'm very excited for it. I want to thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you enjoy many more to come. Bye now.